Chris, just real quick, just tell me your favorite football team.
It's clearly the Patriots. It's a controversial take, of course.
All right.
I'm a Boston guy. I mean, what do you want? Like, you know.
Welcome to Partner TechX. I'm Scott Campbell with the Global Technology Industry Association, and we are here with GTIA on location in Phoenix with Bapti & Company's event. And it is my great pleasure to be joined right now by Chris Millerick, Vice President of Worldwide Partner Sales at Infoblox, and also a member of Bapti & Company's Channel Executive Council. Chris, thanks for being with us.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to talk to you. You did a great session on 5 ways that AI can turbocharge your career. But before that, I just want to get started with, what have you thought of the event? What have you liked? What have you seen, heard this year?
No, I got to tell you, it's a phenomenal event. Listen, the Bapti & Company always put on a great show. You know, the opportunity to come down here, and I have members of my team that came to the event because you're just surrounded by so much knowledge that's here, right? There's a real opportunity to engage, get domain expertise, and you know, hopefully you come away and you really feel like you can take that and put it right into practice when you go back to your day job.
Great, that is awesome. So the second question I want to ask is, I was going to ask, how is AI changing the way we work? But I think the better question is, how should it change the way we work, based on your presentation?
Yeah, no, so I'll tell you what, when I think about it, and like most good ideas, I can't claim it to be my own. I gleaned a lot of this from listening to other smart folks in the industry. But I had a chance to, as I shared in my presentation, the chance to spend some time with some industry professionals over the weekend at an event. And their framework for AI was that kind of the first principle is, first and foremost, you have to have somebody that's curious, right? You got a curiosity for insights and perspectives that you may not be able to get today on your own. And then on top of that, you got to know your data. So you got to be somebody that can then recognize the insights that you're looking for in AI, what you get back. Do you know that data on your own so that you can trust what you get back? It's credible, right? And so when you take that and then you use the framework that then they provided, which was to say, do you have good judgment? Do you not have good judgment? And they put it into essentially a 4-quadrant box. If you don't have good judgment, unfortunately, today, without AI, you're kind of a little bit of dead weight. Right, to be fair, right? But with AI, now that is what the kids would call the slop cannons, right? That is just like you're going to create a ton of content and you probably get overwhelmed by it in terms of what you create, but you're not going to get a through line of perspective that's curated to be able to use it effectively, right? Now, if you have good judgment and you have those 2 first principles of curiosity and you know the data, well now, listen, without AI, you were steady hands on the wheel, right? But with AI, you turbocharged your brain. Yep. You essentially now have unlocked a ton of possibilities, and it is truly that idea of you got a consulting team in your pocket. So it's really powerful.
And to that point, I was also going to ask you, what roles are kind of most at risk with AI? But I don't even think that's the right question either. I think it's more, because it's not role-based, right? It's more AI skills-based or activity-based in terms of.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I think it's, while folks will think about, oh my God, is the role that I'm in, is that going to be at risk? And I think right now, the one thing that AI used properly, right, with good judgment provides is, frankly, access to capabilities and development capabilities as well that can very quickly, if you use it and you take advantage, and you take advantage that right now in this moment, there's a first mover advantage to leaning into the technology, to understanding how to use it, and to actually not just use it from the perspective of how can I make my business better. Of course, that's table stakes, but then flip the lens back on yourself and go, how do I AI proof my skill sets? How do I ensure that I'm not somebody that's going to be automated or replaced? Instead, how can I lead the charge? How can I bring those insights? So it's a real opportunity that, in my opinion, it's what will start to set apart folks that are ready for what continues to evolve and what's coming, and folks that might be a little disrupted.
Or, as the title of your presentation, how to be a leader, not a laggard, right?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. That's the, you want to lead your way through it. And I think the good news with AI is it's not something that you're going to sit there and go, how do I come up with the way to do this? It's actually the thing you can ask of AI. You can ask AI, hey, build me a comprehensive prompt and tell me, right? I'm trying to answer the question, tell me how it is that I can do these, 5 key activities that will unlock my skill set, in the next 6 weeks, and build me a little training program for it. I'll do it on the nights and weekends to just brush up my stuff. There's no need for you to come up with it, on your own. Put the good idea out through AI, use a prompt, and then have it come back and build you a plan.
And to that point, I guess a good data point for that is one of the things you mentioned was AI using reps generates 77% more revenue than those not using AI.
Yeah, no, and it's a phenomenal stat. Obviously, we get it from an industry perspective on it, but it's not a big surprise when you think about it. You think about the need to be able to understand from a customer's perspective how they're evaluating the market of technology, in my case, the technology segment that you as a rep are trying to sell into. And the classic use case of, man, I got to go out and do all this individual scrubbing of websites. I got to study somebody's, 10K and what their quarterly results were and understand their priorities. Again, you have essentially a full research team in your pocket, right? And that can be just-in-time delivery. Hey, I'm going out on a sales call tomorrow. I'm going to put the prompt in, do a little deep research, and I want it to come back and give me a 2-page brief so I'm ready to speak to what matters to that customer right on the spot. I would say it's not only that powerful, but it's actually that simple. So it's a huge opportunity for reps that kind of are leaning into this to separate from the pack. And what better way to impact your own income but sell more stuff?
And hiring managers are noticing this too, right? One of your other stats was 2/3 of leaders won't hire without AI skills.
Yeah, no, I think right now, listen, there's always going to be pressure to grow revenue and keep OpEx in check. And the pressures on that are greater than they've ever been before. Obviously, we've got some macroeconomic things going on that are increasing that pressure. So when you think about it and you're looking to bring somebody on staff, you're trying to hire that person that is leading into this and leaning into it and leading through it so that you're up-leveling the kind of aggregate skill set on your team. If somebody is coming in and they're looking for an opportunity, within my team, whether it's leadership, whether it's front lines, it's one of the questions that I ask in terms of how are you using it? By the way, whether you're using it in a context of business, your company has the tools, or how are you using it personally? And how are you trying to learn this technology? It's either one's fine, but you have to be engaged in it, and you got to be leading the way.
So what we've talked a lot about so far has kind of been from the personal or almost individual level, but I want to broaden the scope a little bit. What advice would you have for vendors how to use AI to turbocharge their teams?
Yeah, so one of the things that I reflected on and then shared with the folks here during the keynote was, my team also is leading the way, right, within our company. And I would argue, even across some of the portfolio of companies that we get a chance to interact with, because of the fact that we run, I'm going to say, very efficient from a staffing perspective, right? And so we look at, but as we do that, we also have a really high standard of performance of what we're trying to execute to. These tools are it's the type of thing that, my team wasn't going to take the approach. They're like, oh, this is the best kept secret. It was like, nope, we're going to go learn it. Then we're going to evangelize it out to the rest of the organization. And then part of that is you start to see who's going to self-select into it. So we have tools that we have today inside of our company that are being supercharged, right, with AI and some of the LLMs that we're plugging in. We have partnerships across, obviously, Google and AWS and Microsoft. And so we have partnerships there. But we also have other platforms and from folks that are here at this event today. And there's an opportunity to stitch those things together. The opportunity to do that and to always come back to the North Star of what's the objective, right? And how are we trying to solve for it? And then do you have the right workflow defined to get there? You got to do a little bit of that work up front because then the technology steps in underneath it and just puts it on an accelerate. Right? That is where you get the real impact. Yep. So you know what you're aiming for and the technology supercharges your time to get there. If you just kind of go with the methods without the strategy, you're gonna run in a circle.
All right, last question. how do I get started? Where's a good place to start? Because not even joking, I'm starting tomorrow.
Oh, awesome. There we go. That's you were listening to the keynote.
Yes.
That was my ask of the team. No, I'll tell you, it can be hard, but it's a perception that it can be hard to get started. And that's all it is a perception. The reality of it is log into your favorite LLM, whether it's Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot. Honestly, it matters a little, but not that much, right? What really matters is you got to take the action to go in and ask it to write you a prompt. I don't want you to ask you to, and I'll give it to you as advice. So you're going to ask it to write you a prompt, and you're going to say, look, I want you to write me a prompt like you're my executive coach, all right? And that's the persona I want you, this AI to be, and I want you to give me the first 5 steps on my journey to becoming an AI master, all right? And then I want you to publish that for me in a guidebook so that I can make it easy to reference and actionable to do. So if you do that, I think what you're going to find is pretty quick. That's going to be the first question you ask it. It's not going to be the last.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't afford my own personal career coach, but I can afford a Copilot
Neither can I.
license.
So, but I can afford a Copilot license, and I tell you, and I use it. That's exactly what I do.
Perfect. Chris Millerick for Infoblox, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
And thank you for being with us on GTIA on location from Partner Tech X. Check back on our YouTube playlist. We'll be back soon.